Okay.
Good suggestion. And Josh, I'm so sorry that I didn't include you.
I took it
And
personally. You're off the Christmas card list.
and Colette, you get the stack award, even though I don't have a slide, just for all your follow-up with the board and the general manager, and even thinking about Josh not being invited. So I appreciate everybody's help. So let's get into it. I think from an attendance standpoint, we have the usual suspects. Jenny, did you volunteer to take notes today, I believe?
I did.
Okay, we'll see if you can live up to Helen's expectations. Or
Please. Yeah, tough act to follow.
So we got Helen, we got Wes, we got Jenny, we got Josh, we got Colette, we got Mo, we got Rob, and we have Julia. So I think we have, again, the people that typically attend. I know some of the other members have conflicts during the day and, don't, can't attend, but one of them I know said they could attend starting in the summer. So anyway, let's get going.
So Bernie, could I just make a comment about Julia? The finance department is in the middle of their audit right now, the annual audit, and I'm guessing she's pretty busy. Is that right, Julia? Not hearing her response.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yeah, we actually in the middle of preliminary audit, and then we do have year end coming up, so it's pretty crazy here. But I'm here, I'm listening to you guys.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say, if you need to leave because of greater priorities, we can fill you in on anything.
Okay.
So
yeah, I do have a couple of phone calls later on, so I might have to leave and then come back. But I'm going to be here listening to everything that you have to say.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thanks, you, Colette.
Yeah, thanks, Colette. And Julia, I'd be multitasking if I were you. Yeah, turn your camera off and listen in, but be doing your work. So I completely understand. Anyway, I transferred the minutes over to, kind of our agenda over to, kind of like we did last time. So Josh, I'm going to pick on you first to just update us on, two of the action items under you there. And then Colette, if you wouldn't mind jumping in when Josh has completed of some of the things that we've done.
Sure. So we circulated the request for department heads to fill out the SWOT. I believe you had 2 responses. We're going to nudge everybody again today. Like Colette said earlier, some of staff are swamped with the audit. Others are getting the amenities, etc., ready for the opening of the season. So we'll give them a gentle reminder today. What else did you want me to comment on?
Well, I think the Bayside Gazette, there was an article published, and of course I panicked about it and Josh settled me down. I was, concerned about what to say or what not to say, but I got good coaching from Colette and Josh. So we did get an article published, just kind of what we're doing, and we're just getting started and inviting other people if they want to participate, but I don't think we had any other applications.
Yeah, they're the kind of paper that they'll do a little introductory story usually on this committee is getting started again. This is what they're doing, and it can be helpful to let the community know we're active. So when we ask people in the community for input, they're a little bit more familiar with everything. So I think that was a positive. And if you want something like that for Motion Pines PR, we can do that too. Committee gearing up, working on this, expect to see these kind of surveys. That's something that we can do in-house as well.
Yeah, that is something that, you and I could talk. Again, I just want to thank Josh. He's been very valuable. He's extremely responsive, and I don't recommend it, but whether it's 10 o'clock at night or 8 in the morning, but definitely a committed team member here, and I really appreciate it. I mean, I think we are getting close to, and I'll mention at the end that we're getting close to, my goal is to maybe do a draft of a survey before next meeting. So, we might be a month or 2 out before we get going, and there's going to be a lot of work that goes into that, but we probably should start priming the pump there to get people thinking about it. So, action item there, Jenny, will be just Bernie to touch base with Josh on timing of surveys and starting to increase engagement of, homeowners. Okay. And by the way, on the SWAT, I don't, again, with what's going on with amenities and audits, I don't know what's reasonable, Colette, if you have a perspective on that, we had a deadline of the 22nd. I think we gave them 10 business days to respond. Some of the ones that Josh and the other gentleman that responded did an awesome job. I don't know what's reasonable. Do we extend it another week? Do we give them till next Friday? Or don't put a date on it? What do you guys think? I mean, and the reason I'm asking that is because it leads to what Colette's going to talk about is, what our next steps are. But what do you think? A week, or, how do you want to handle that?
Josh, what do you think is doable from the staff point of view at this point?
I think give them another week. I would also suggest if we had a good example of what a SWAT is. I mean, honestly, it was something I'd never done before. I went to Google, did a few searches, tried to find some examples, and gave it my best shot. But if we
that's
have
a good point.
If we have a good example that we can send to the rest of the guys and gals and say, this is kind of what we're looking for, it may be a little bit easier for them to turn around.
Yeah, we could do that. And
Okay, cool.
part of it is I wanted independent thinking, but on the other hand, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, but I understand. And Josh, so the person that did it, in addition to you, was
Ron Fisher.
And
he runs the marinas, and Ron used to run PRMC. So
I think his example is a good one. He really did.
He knows his stuff. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was. I was impressed with what he came up with. Okay.
Yep.
So maybe we'll use his as an example, somebody internal that already did it or something like that. So,
yeah, I was thinking that too. That'd be great.
Okay. Turn it over to Colette. Just again, like I said, has been very, I just appreciate the response and the advice that she's given me being new on this committee. But I'll turn it over to Colette with one of her action items there.
Yeah, so I consulted with Larry Perrone, the association president, and his preference was that we get input from the department heads first, and then convene the executive council meeting where we would be getting input from the chairs of each of the advisory committees. I will follow up with him to go ahead and get that executive council meeting scheduled. And the target is May to have that. The more input we have from the staff at that point, the better, I think, so that we have the staff perspective, not just the advisory committee perspective. And then after the executive council meeting, the board will review kind of, I guess, Bernie, you'll be kind of summarizing the SWOT for the board to review.
Yeah, I'll do whatever, however you want to handle that. And again,
Yeah, I think that would probably be best.
Yeah.
The less reading that the board has to do, I think, the better. And so if common themes could be, kind of common staff themes, and then common executive council meeting themes. And then, I'm guessing the board at that point won't have a whole lot of additional input other than maybe some comments on of the items identified, what would be considered higher or lower priority from their point of view, because all of it is going to carry some kind of a dollar figure with it.
Yeah. And just for the committee's sake, I mean, the way strengths and opportunities work, for example, is, let's just say a strength is Ocean Pines safety. Okay. That we're, second in the state or whatever. I mean, we are a very safe community. That's the strength. What's the opportunity, or what's the strategy going forward? It would be to, continue to invest in maintaining high safety standards for the community or something like that. So, I mean, that's how the SWOT works with driving strategy. Where you have a weakness, it ends up being something that needs to be addressed or needs to be worked on as a goal, or, whatever. So that's why the importance of a SWOT, it's from a process standpoint, it's crazy. If I have a good SWOT, I could easily develop that are very, all stakeholders included, all summarized, including community input. You could clearly just, say, it's crystal clear. Here's what your 4 strategies need to be, or enterprise strategy. So anyway, Colette, you and I might need to coordinate just a little bit if, getting ready for the executive council and prep. I know Larry would schedule that and what you might need from me or involvement with me to get them going on that. I think you mentioned that he might send something ahead of time to have them think about it and then have a meeting to discuss it or something like that. So
Yes. Yeah, that was his plan. And I think he wanted you to kind of lead the discussion.
Okay.
So yeah, we can do that.
Okay, great. Again, thanks. You on this action item got both the board involved, Larry and the general manager. So good stuff.
Great.
Next one was a couple, any questions on that or comments on the first page? Next up was, we talked a lot and we're going to spend the bulk of this meeting talking about benchmarking other communities. I put a draft together of what a document might look like. And we talked last time about what some of those communities might be. So we had some good discussion last time and we'll continue that discussion today. And then again, Mo, you conducted the survey with everybody and I think you had a little trouble getting responses the first time, but you finally did get a hold of everybody. And I think, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
I'm sorry, comments on what, Bernie? The question?
Yeah, I mean, it just Mo sent out the survey and
Yes, I had made up in my mind, well, I sketched out a few questions and that was, I think it was covered in what you had, the size of the community, the amenities, whether they had a HOA, how they were governance, whether that governance was done in-house or whether it was done, like an external, what would you call it? These management companies. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I think this was more, Helen, just that Mo surveyed team members and there's 2 members that aren't here that can't make it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The majority of us preferred this time. So we the majority, and I'm sensitive to that we couldn't include all members. I know the one woman said that she'll be able to attend starting the summer. I think she's a teacher, but it's not ideal, but I'd hate to lose some of you regulars. If we had it at night, it's not ideal for me at night. Sometimes I have classes at night. So we're going to stick with what we have for now. But let's move on. Good discussion. So accomplishments to date. So I thought, let me walk you through this quickly. So from a time standpoint, 9:14. So I don't think we're going to go till 10:30 today, but if we do, we have the time budgeted. I know I have to teach a class at 11 remotely, but anyway, I thought I thought I'd walk us through just kind of, it's a little bit of, as I quote Colette, we're starting to get our legs. So in January, I know I was in Germany, the team started to come together. Mo had been scheduling meetings and, one of the things we did is, get Colette involved and clarified that, and maybe it's not the exact words here, but, we are expected, there is not a strategic plan in place. There was some work done back before. Last time we talked about, last meeting, we talked about past, present, and future and kind of where we're going. But it really is to lead the efforts for the development, and I would say of a recommended Ocean Pines long-range plan. I mean, it's up to us to drive the bus. It's up to the board to approve that and provide input. Provide input first, and then basically, approve it along with the organization itself. So, we're going back on trying to get clarified. So in January, did we get clarification? We added new team members in February. We requested, when Colby left, we got Julia and Steve involved. And again, efforts there by Colette to keep us going. I think it's great to have the finance team involved because it is going to, at some point, tie to the budget. We started to discuss the plan. We had some brainstorming discussions on SWOT. We had some follow-up on that. And we also discussed key stakeholders, such as part-time, full-time, families with children, different things, all things that will be important down the road when we do a survey, making sure that we incorporate all key stakeholders. We also talked about committee heads. We talked about getting the organization involved with the surveys and stuff like that. So I would just ask everybody on this committee to keep us, there's things that I don't think about because my background is in business and I don't think of all the things in a homeowners association or all the people that might be touched. So I got some good counsel on that before. So, January, a couple of, one item we got going, February, a couple items. In March, we developed a preliminary SWOT. We added even more new members. And then we started developing, I think the last time we shared what the planning process would look like and the elements. And then for April, we had a little bit of PR in the Gazette. We had, we're engaging, the Ocean Pines departments. We'll finalize plans for benchmarking with other HOAs, hopefully today, and what we're going to commit to there. I would say the board of directors is well aware, at least Larry is, of the work that we're doing with Colette, that we're starting to, build momentum here and, got preliminary approval. I told Colette it would just be hardly any money for a survey, but I would just have to say, Colette, I think they're aware that this committee is starting to get going. Wouldn't you agree? And Colette's probably eating her breakfast too.
I'm unmuted. Yeah, I'm muted. I'm done with my breakfast now. So yes, I have kept the board apprised. I try to give them, if there's major accomplishments or movement on this committee, I, send a quick email to the board after the meeting to let them know where you guys are, just so they know.
And, the other thing we just did is we confirmed the meeting days and times. It might seem small in the scheme of things, but we do have really good attendance, both from the board on this meeting, the organization, as well as the like I said, the regulars on this committee. So I guess in my perspective, we're starting to build momentum, but I have to tell you that I find a little bit of time in between the meetings to work on it between classes. Now, the good news is my classes end in about 2 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. But I would say even on my part, we're going to have to do, we're going to have to make more progress between meetings. And part of it is this benchmarking discussion that we're going to have. I'm going to ask for some volunteers to benchmark different communities, but we want to get this done. And I could see us doing the benchmarking. I could see us updating the board on SWOT. I could see us, and we'll talk about timing of other things later in the meeting, but there's a lot of work to be done, and we're taking baby steps, but we got to kick it into second gear pretty soon. So that's just my perspective. And any comments on that or any disagreement? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually do a poll. Let's see what's next on the agenda. So we're going to talk about benchmarking other communities, but hey, the nice thing about Zoom is you could do quick polls. So here's a poll. It's anonymous. So vote what your heart is, vote what you really think. But the question is, how confident are you that we will be successful in developing and finalizing a recommended strategic plan for Ocean Pines? So it's all about how confident do you feel this committee will be able to be successful in developing and finalizing a recommended strategic plan, a long-term plan for Ocean Pines. So that's the question. Vote. You get one vote. Pick one, and I'll share the results. Eight out of 8. I do this with my students just to break up the lectures all the time. I ask them different questions, usually about the content. So, and it's also a way for me to really figure out whether they're paying attention. If only 18 of 25 students, answer the poll, I'm like, okay, who's doing something else? So 8 out of 8, good job. So the polling, share the results. So, again, I would say, I like to look at it as top 2 box. So the top 2 answers, are 75% plus 13% or 6 plus 1. So 88% of the people are either very confident or extremely confident that we'll do that. We had one that's slightly confident. And really I did that is if people weren't really confident or neutral. I didn't vote. I ran the poll, but I think I have confidence in our ability. I don't know what our roadblocks might be at this point. So that's my only caveat. So overall, really positive scores there. And it's just a way to get you all engaged and get a temperature check on how we're doing. Any comments?
I don't know if that was
Well-
the right question.
Go ahead, Wes. What do you mean?
Well, I said, I'm very confident that we'll develop a strategic plan. I've seen this committee. We get good attendance. You're a great taskmaster, Bernie, and Colette is, I view Colette as one of the more active, people on the board. So I feel really confident that we're going to develop a strategic plan. My lack of confidence is whether or not it ever goes anywhere after us.
Yeah.
That's a whole different question.
And that's the type of open comments and discussion I want to have. Because, then the question is, how do we solve for that, or what actions do we take? But, this is everybody's input is critical. And I don't know, Jenny, you usually have a point of view. What do you think?
I agree with Wes. I think that I have no doubt that this group can come up with a plan. I think the key to it leaving our group and being used is going to take buy-in from the board and the staff, and at the end of it, some sort of commitment to making it a relevant part of their general decision making and planning and that sort of thing. I think that's going to be the thing to focus on at the end. Once it's there and there's something more more, once it has more feet under it.
Yeah.
I think that will be the part. I mean, the other part of it is the board changes year to year. So there has to be some overlapping. Do you know what I mean? So when a new board comes in or new staff comes in, they're introduced to the concept of it and know that it's something that needs to be perpetuated.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Bernie, I will just jump in here that our GM contract has having, strategic planning is a deliverable on his contract or her contract, whoever, maybe would succeed the current GM. And I would anticipate that the board will continue to have that as an action item or a deliverable for the GM contractually. Jenny is correct about the turnover of the board being, if you would put it in the SWOT analysis, that could be a strength or a weakness. And so I think one of the current board members, Frank Daly, has suggested that the board develop goals for itself each year. And I think there is traction for that among the board. And I think that is a good way for carryover to occur from election to election. And so I'm going to take as one of my follow-ups to kind of try to keep that concept alive and push for us doing that. Because if we're going to do effective strategic planning, I think we need to have the carryover from board to board be solid, at least on this one topic.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And even as a kind of a light item in the agenda for a board orientation.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good thoughts,
And
Jen.
even executive council, having the president of the board make sure the committee chairs are aware of a strategic plan being in place. I would be willing to bet, and I was a committee chair for 7 years, that I never knew Ocean Pines had a mission and a vision until we started this and dug in a little bit. And we actually have a mission and a vision. And I think it would be good if it was known. And I'm not faulting anyone. I mean, I'm not faulting anyone. I'm just saying,
Yeah, Jenny, I'll tell you, I had to dig to find it, but I found it. Yeah.
Right. But it's important, especially if we're going to spend all of this time committing to putting together what we're putting together. I totally agree with Wes's analysis that I think we're going to be able to really do a nice job of this. It's just how are we going to make sure that it's relevant and used?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree
and
with
Jenny,
that. Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is Helen. You know, I agree with what you're saying about the mission and vision. The community has to know what our mission and vision is. And I really am a big proponent of having core values as well. So I think that should be an important piece. And just one statement, it's already kind of been said, but I think that we have to be on the same page, or the board has to be, and the organization has to be on the same page as we are. So as we develop this strategic plan, you know, sometimes it's good to have everybody feel that they have input into something. So when it's produced, it's not a shocker. Oh, okay, this is what we've been working for. This is what we're expecting. And so the final product is something that is agreed upon and embraced by everybody.
And I think once little surveys start going out and that sort of thing, I think that is going to, that will start engagement of the community. I think, I know when we did that last survey, I think it was a pretty average number of folks who responded, and perhaps not all demographic and all that business, but I definitely think the results of it were anticipated. I think people looked forward to it. So I think if the surveys, you know, reach enough people that when a plan comes out, they're going to know where the information came from and that sort of thing. It's going to be some PR in there too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
and if I could just comment on the mission and vision, I think it's highly appropriate for your committee, as you are gathering the information for the SWOT analysis and identifying the priorities from the point of view of the membership and the staff, to revisit our mission and vision and make sure that those still reflect what our mission and vision are, because I do think that evolves. And I'm not sure when our mission and vision statements were written, but if I remember correctly, it emphasizes this being a resort community. And, you know, it's really become a much more of a full-time community for a lot of people. And so sometimes those two things come in conflict with each other.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
Mhm.
Colette, it's at least 4 GMs old, if not older.
Okay, so it may be
So
time to take a look. And I
absolutely.
think the board would be open to input from this committee on the mission and vision, you know, based on what you guys discover in the surveys that you do.
Yep. And Jenny, just a note there. So Helen mentioned values, and we have discussed that in previous meeting, that we would consider recommending core values to the board as well. So, should, look at it, or, evaluate the vision and mission and see if it needs to be updated. It could be just a word change that with something like that. And Josh, it sounds like there's an opportunity to communicate the mission and vision, although I got to compliment. I wouldn't, maybe you don't have to do that right away because we may enhance it, but I would just say that, again, it's interesting. A shout out to Josh and his team there on the, whatever it's called, the Ocean Pines training. I did listen to a couple modules, and the first thing that John starts out with is the mission and vision, which was awesome. But anyway, we haven't heard, Rob, any comments, and if no, that's fine. But
no, Helen kind of stole my thunder. I was going to comment that how critical it is, and I think we've talked about this in the past, that we have engagement from the departments, from the board as we go through this process. I mean, Wes and Jenny were right on point that we can come up with a great plan, and if we've done it in a vacuum, it might get looked at like, what the heck is this? So
absolutely.
So yeah, Helen hit it right on the head. We just got to make sure we stay engaged with those folks. Ultimately, they're the stakeholders, and when it comes time to execution of a strategic plan, that's going to be very critical. So, just kind of repeating what Helen said. That's what my comment.
The other part of engagement that, at least in when I've been doing strategic planning with other organizations, we also included a value proposition in there, because that does engage people when they understand the value of the organization. And I think that will come out of the strengths of the SWAT.
Yeah.
But that's just a hot button, whatever you want to call it. I feel like stands out in my mind is people are interested in what we, the organization, do for them. And I think that engages people. They want to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Mo, any comments from your end?
I thought he might have dropped off.
Okay. And maybe he's having bad. It is a little windy out there, and
It is, yeah.
that's okay. We need to move on. But Jenny, it's interesting. So I will tell this committee that getting all the stakeholders engaged is not a strength of mine. I'm used to working in a corporate world where people are expected to be engaged, and people are expected to buy in. But I will also tell you that a strategic plan that's based on facts, that's based on data, that's based on homeowners' input, shouldn't change year to year. Now, in the business world, you get a new CEO in, new president of the board, new GM, they might want to relook at it, but this should be something that, lives and breathes for at least 3 to 5 years, if not longer. But I think some of the comments about onboarding the committees, onboarding the new board members, I think is awesome. So really good discussion. And then just a funny thing is, I am in the middle of grading 12 quantitative surveys as we speak. So,
Ew.
so I'm pretty good at surveys. and these students are not. But anyway, good discussion there. And the overall takeaway there is, everybody on this committee is very confident or extremely confident that we'll develop it. The question is, the more important thing is engagement, buy-in, and making it a living, breathing document moving forward. I will tell you that I forget where I was going to go, but I don't have anything else on that. So let's move on. So benchmarking other communities. What I was going to do is actually, I guess we could handle this 2 ways. I could share the document and we could review it. In fact, I think I'm going to do something different. I'm going to.
Can I just real quick make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting so we don't get sidetracked from that? I don't think we ever did it.
No, thank you.
I'm doing the minutes. I want them approved.
Yeah, there was one exception where Julia was assigned something that really wasn't accurate. So I don't know if
Yeah, please correct that, because I hate assigning somebody a job that it was incorrect, but have all these little notes. So,
So where it says Julia Johnson will provide committee with current.
Yeah, that was a mistake. I forget what it was, but we confirmed there isn't a strategic plan in place. And it might have just been something that I said I was going to do or something. But anyway, so I don't know if I can make a motion, but I make a motion to approve it with that one exception.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Yep. Second.
Okay. So we're removing D from item 7.
Yeah.
So the minutes are approved with one change.
Yes.
All right. Sorry for the interruption.
No, so I think what I'll do is I'm going to stop sharing for a second and share another document here if I could find it. Benchmarking other homeowners association. Hang on a second.
So while we're waiting, the Wall That Heals is here. If everyone hasn't had a chance to go and visit, the welcome ceremony is at 11 today. And it's at Southgate Memorial Park.
Yeah, I won't make it today, but I definitely want to make it over there. It seems impressive. I saw them.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Set it up yesterday and the day before.
Them bringing it in with the 200 plus motorcycles was impressive. The whole thing is impressive. The whole thing.
That was cool. That really was.
It was really cool. Were you there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Tomorrow is the lighting ceremony. Anyway, candle ceremony.
It's good to have levity. I'm all business. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm like, got to get this done. Hang on a second. Let me just, why is that doing that? Okay, so hopefully you can see this document. I can make it bigger if you want. There you go.
Good.
Is that readable?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So this was, I didn't send this one out. This is one that I started. No, I didn't start this one. I meant to show another one. So I'm going to ask for volunteers to look at a couple committees, and I have a list, or a couple homeowners association. And I have that list that we'll share in a second from our last meeting. But what we want to do, I mean, I just want to clarify with, make sure everybody knows what they're getting into here. But the purpose is to compare and contrast Ocean Pines versus other homeowners associations. There is a lot of good about Ocean Pines, and I'm confident that we'll have a lot of things that most other people don't have. Location, beach, front, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the goal is to uncover opportunities that Ocean Pines might want to consider in the future. Or, like we talked about, enhancing the mission and vision. Maybe there's some words in another homeowners association that's best in class. So it's like, that's interesting that they do that, and why they do that versus what we're doing. So it really is just using the internet. It's not making calls. In fact, Colette, another thing that she's done is she's coordinated that we could probably contact, I don't want any of us contacting the general managers of these communities at this point, but one of the asks here at the end is if you have other questions that you have about this community, please let us know and state them here, and we will follow up at a later time. But it's amazing what you can get on the internet and what's available. So ideally, stuff that you want to collect it. And the reason I'm sharing this is, one, to understand what we want to do, but also if we missed anything or if we want to delete any of this. So to start out, you want to collect the homeowners association name and city and state, where they're located. If you can get size, maybe it's a number of lots, maybe it's a number of houses, maybe, and Mo had suggested, maybe it's, in square miles or something like that. What's their,
Acres comes up.
what's that?
Say again, Jenny, I didn't understand what you said, Jenny.
Acres. Well, I was looking,
Okay.
I picked one and just for Glen Riddle for the purpose of trying to start to fill in blanks. And I just found that acres is what it was.
Yeah, whatever you can get,
that seems to be more published, because the one that I've, been taking a look at is Crofton, and they're 1,600 acres.
Okay.
Mm.
Just see something here. So then population, am I missing anything here? So square miles, any measure of size, whether it's miles or acres. I wasn't able to find it on ones that I looked at. Population, you probably can get this. Ideally, if they usually list a population, it might be based on the last census, but I was impressed with what I can get, how many people live there. You might find out part-time, full-time. There might be some data on that. I'm not sure. Demographics, it was amazing what I was able to get, through different published organizations. I'm not sure if it's, and I'll give you an example in a second. And then does the HOA community include one community or several? So, is there several different sections? Is it one that oversees a bunch of different things? Chances are it's just one community. Might be an exceptions there. I don't know if you're going to be able to get annual fee, but you could, any of these, you can just put a question mark or say, couldn't find. Including with HOA fee, you want to get a sense for what amenities are included, what aren't, what about public works, is that all included, et cetera. And then, a list of key amenities offered, and there's probably not enough room here, but the goal is to look at, maybe not exactly what Ocean Pines has, but to look at, what's the differences. You don't have to list everything, but maybe they have something unique. And I'll give you, I think it was Bayview I looked at. And they had, what was unique about them was they offered bus service to the beach, or shuttle service during the beach during summer hours. I thought it was interesting. It's something different. Maybe we have something like that, but I mean, there's a couple of unique things that they had extensive walkways between, their sections are spread out, unlike Ocean Pines. And they had walkways, that connected each of them, which created miles and miles of safe walking space. It was kind of interesting. So there was just little things like that. That's not necessarily an amenity, but I found something that, what's unique about them. They're a little bit newer and things like that, but I'll share that stuff in a second. And then governance, are they, I'm not good on governance, but do they have a board, an advisory board, do they have a general manager, but some sense of how the homeowners association is run.
And I think in looking at boards, I don't know if they're ever paid boards on these HOAs, but that would be a big difference. Ours is all volunteer. We're all amateurs, so to speak. So that could be a strength. It can be a weakness.
Yep. God bless you all for the time you put in and the abuse you take. But anyway, that's a good one. It also, if you could find out, is the GM part of management company? I mean, we're not recommending any big changes there. It's like, what's different, about these? If we find out that 7 out of 10 have boards that are paid, it's something that we should maybe consider. Or if we find out that, 8 out of 10 have a management company running the homeowners association. I'm not saying we do that, but there just might be things that we learn about that. Planning, do they have a stated vision? And this is where it comes into what we were talking about before. What is their vision? What is their mission? How is it different, than ours? Are there words in there that we might consider adding? And again, when it comes to this, I don't care if you have to handwrite this and send it back to me in the mail, or if you can type it in, whatever's going to be easiest for you. You're probably going to spend an hour or two on the internet searching this stuff between now and the next meeting. But evidence of a strategic plan. Do half of them have strategic plans, or is there any evidence that you could find on the internet? It might be harder to find, to tell you the truth. A lot of people post their vision and mission, but they don't necessarily lay out what their strategic plan is on the internet. And then anything else worth noting, anything that we didn't cover above. But then it goes down to here's the bottom line, what we're looking for. Based on your analysis, what are the key positives with this HOA community and opportunities that we might consider? Secondly, what are the key positives that Ocean Pines has today? Less important, because we know what they are, we can fill that in. And then there are the key questions you would like answered about the community. This is, where we might follow up with the GM or get Colette involved, or one of us, contact GMs of these places to find out, specific questions if they're really intriguing. Chances are, there might be a few that we find really attractive and we want to know, hey, how'd you guys get to that vision? It's a lot different than ours, or something like that. I did list, who filled this out, so in case we have follow-up questions, and then where'd you find the information? But any comments, or do we miss anything on this?
Great job, I think.
Mo had a lot of input, and I forget if Jenny ever got back to me, but that's okay, Jenny.
I thought I was supposed to be looking at a community. I didn't realize I was critiquing the form. So I filled out the form for Glenn Riddle. I guess I read that message totally wrong, but I did that.
You did your homework already.
Apparently I was just sitting here thinking, I guess I didn't need to do this for today.
Well, your homework's done, he said.
Yeah.
Well, partially, yes. But the form I was looking at didn't have all of these questions.
Right.
I guess that's because what I was looking at was a rough draft and you were looking for input on the form.
Yeah, that's right. So
sorry.
It changed slightly. I think, I probably.
Just a little.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of, we reviewed this last time. And, we said our steps in the strategic planning process. So, we want to understand the 5 or 6 C's. I talked about business. And for Ocean Pines, we definitely want to get consumer input, the homeowners input. And the category that we're analyzing now is other homeowners associations. So that's kind of like where we are. That's why we're doing this. We'll get the homeowners input when we do the survey, but right now we're getting category information of things that we might want to include in the survey. And that's why it's important. It also, you can argue that maybe some of these are competitors like Glen Riddle. So it starts to get into covering off on competition for Ocean Pines as well. But again, again, we shared this last time. This is, we're looking for the key positives or negatives versus Ocean Pines, and what communities we should benchmark. Now, I couldn't find these. I took my own notes, but I forgot Glen Riddle. I forgot Croft or whatever the other one that Wes had mentioned, but these were some of them that I did sort of have from notes or from what, was it?
Another one that I thought of when I was looking at this was one that was in the sample one at the very beginning, which was Kiowa Island. They had a really
That's what it was.
great
Yeah.
mission and vision.
Okay. So Colette had contacted somebody that works with homeowners associations. I think he's our legal counsel, and had recommended some of these on here. So again, this is going to be important, Jenny. So capture these. So we have the Villages was recommended by somebody that joined our meeting that time. I think it's a
Barney,
good.
I'm not seeing anything if you're showing something.
Thank you for letting me know.
List of names.
That's I count on my students to do that. They're so good with technology.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah, Montgomery Village. Yeah, I read about that.
so you're seeing this now?
Yeah,
Mhm.
got it.
Yes.
Rob, thanks for pointing that out. I mean, half the time I'm talking and the students can't hear me and they're sending me chats and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm going to take the Villages in Bayside. Okay, I started Bayside, and I'll show you kind of, some things that I've done there. We added Kiowa Island, and was it Croft?
Crofton, which I will volunteer. I'll volunteer to do Crofton.
Great.
And I got Glen Riddle, and I'll take Kiowa.
Okay, great.
I'll take Bayside.
Great.
You want to divvy up work now?
Awesome.
I started looking at Montgomery Village, so I'll look at that.
Are you capturing all this, Jenny? Because they're going pretty quick.
I am. You're going fast for me, but I'm trying.
There's not many left. And again, we don't have to do 20, 6 to 8 is fine. And I'm not expecting, Colette or Josh or Julia to take it on. I think we only have a couple left here, and I'll take whatever's left over.
I'll do Bayside and Sea Colony, since they're both the two in Delaware. I'll do those two.
Rob, didn't you have another one that you mentioned in Delaware one time? Something?
There was one, and I couldn't remember the name, and I still can't, because I had a former neighbor of mine that was looking there, and I sent him a text trying to get the name of it, and I never got a response from him, so I'm drawing a blank. But there's one up in the Lewis area, and I don't know what it is. So
okay,
I think you got
Hot nets or something like that.
let's not worry about it. We have like 8 already. So
I think we got enough.
Okay, so Bernie, you're doing the Villages. Rob, you're doing Bayside and Sea Colony. Helen's got Montgomery Village. Wes has Crofton. I have Kiowa and Glen Riddle. So we have Broadlands and Leisure World. Is that what's open?
yes,
How about Mo?
Mo's going to have one of those. So I would just ask Colette, is there anything that you think we're missing here? I think this
What
is.
about Columbia? Does it make, I don't know that.
I was
much
going to
about
say the
Columbia.
same thing. That's one
We
that people
talked
bring up a
about
lot.
that,
Yeah,
but aren't they a municipality?
yeah. I think Columbia is a total different animal, personally.
Yes.
Okay, they're on HOA, but they also have municipality status.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that might be a good one. Colette, when you sent that over, I wasn't sure, like, if, I don't know Maryland, so I'm a Maryland native, so I wasn't sure, like, is that a town? Is that a?
It's a city.
It's city.
So I'll take that one as well, okay? Because that combination. And then we'll give Mo 1 or 2 of these as well. So even if we don't get to all these, we're getting 6 or 8 of them, okay?
This is the Leisure World that's in Maryland, right? Because I think there's also a Leisure World in Florida.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, I looked it up. There's one in California as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
even
Yeah, PG County, I think.
but it sounded like Colette's contact had some of these that I wasn't familiar with. Colette's contact, the legal counsel, had some relationships that if we had questions with like about Broadlands or Montgomery Village or Leisure World, it sounded like he might be able to give us the connection for any follow-up questions that we have. So
Yeah,
even,
he may have connections with the Delaware ones too. Their practice covers a wide geographic area.
okay. You guys are awesome. This is the type of work and help I was looking for. You can't, and so the so Rob, I already get. So when I looked at Bayside, I sort of looked at the form. I didn't fill it all out. Shame on me. So it's very preliminary. But I said here were some of my key takeaways, or what my summary would be at the bottom. It was interesting. There was a newer community versus Ocean Pines, which is okay. But I mean, it gave you the dates that things were built, and you could look at it, and the majority of houses were built since 2000. Has 2 fitness facilities as part of their homeowners association, including trainers and everything else. They had they had about the same number of pools. 3 pools were heated. Some had hot tubs, but you can come up with your own things. But that large walkway I thought was unique, and that was just me going up there one day. And so many people walking around and things like that. I thought the shuttle bus that they advertised was kind of interesting. They're definitely connected to the Freeman Event Center and Institute, not something that we jump on. Well, but here's another one. They offer 6 discounted rounds of golf to residents. Kind of interesting. It's a value to be part of that community. You get discounted golf.
We do in Ocean Pines.
We do here too.
Oh,
Yeah.
they do. Okay.
Yeah.
As a resident, we get a
Yeah,
discount.
we get all of our rounds on Ocean Pines are discounted. So we pay, I don't know, probably 75-80% of what the public pays.
Yeah, I think our differential for non-members, non-OPA members in all of our amenities is in the 25 to 30% range.
Okay. I didn't even know about, I knew we get ongoing discounted rounds. But I just thought I looked at it as, is it half off? Is it whatever? But is there something there that they do to drive more membership? And it was, so again, it was my takeaway, but obviously it's something that we also do. So these are just some of my things and I think I walked away from all this. And if you just take a step back from get out of the trees and into the forest, it's like, it seems to be an active lifestyle community. Where they offer a lot of different things, and maybe it was just the walkway and the number of people that were out walking. And I know people do that here and biking and stuff like that, but my overall takeaway, it just seemed to be a very lifestyle oriented community. But so anyway, these are just some of if I had to summarize what I was able to find so far, and it was amazing, the demographics they gave you, ages, income, stuff that, it's not that critical to know, but it was kind of interesting how much you could find. And then we talked about this. So we got the volunteers. You all lined up for that, Jenny, right?
Yep.
So here's
I
what
just find that, I'm sorry. I just find that kind of interesting because, it's, you say, Bayside is appears to be a very active lifestyle community. And so is Ocean Pines. However, it may not appear that way. Do you understand? Where people are active maybe in their neighborhoods, and we have lots of activity going on, but I guess because we're an older community and the way we are laid out and the way things were built, it doesn't appear that way. And sometimes perception is such a big thing.
And again,
yeah, we have a lot of clubs too. I don't know, Bernie, if you are aware of that, but we have like photography club, arts and crafts club, various different clubs. So there are a lot of people who take advantage of the active amenities, but there are also a lot of people that are involved in various clubs.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I violated a core principle. That was my perception. It wasn't a fact.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
everything else I listed there was a fact,
Mhm.
but I was trying to summarize it and
Mhm.
felt about things, but
Right.
so good discussion. So, what do we want to do? So I was going to ask all of you, again, it's probably an hour or two on the internet. And again, whether you can type it up or even if you have to send, if you're not comfortable typing and you want to handwrite it, I could pick it up or you could send it over to me. I think my address is listed on the website, here in Ocean Pines. So ideally, maybe by the 14th, because my guess is somebody's going to be late, like Jenny.
She did hers already.
And
Good news is I'm halfway done.
and it just gives us a little bit more time before our next meeting to try to summarize and things like that, or and put it together. I would just say complete what you can, no direct communications. This is not calling people up. If you happen to know somebody that lives there, fine, but this isn't calling the GM or an official. We're here to benchmark as part of Ocean Pine Strategic Planning Committee. This is just searching the internet. Fill in the form, even if handwritten, like I said. And again, focus on the key differences. There's a lot of information you're not going to be able to find, but what are the key differences? What are the facts? I was able, Rob, when you do Bayview or whatever, it was interesting. Bayside. It was interesting. They had all their amenities listed pretty easy, so it was easy to take them off the internet.
You made the comment, Bernie, that you went up there. That's one of the things I thought I would do is just take a drive and a little scouting, get a feel for it.
They have a welcome center and stuff like that, but I think that's more just, it might be to drive sales because they're they continue to expand. That might be a big difference. They have room for expansion. I don't know. So, or they continue to build.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, they're still trying to sell themselves too.
yes, exactly. But probably at the next meeting, this will be a key topic where you'll submit your forms. I'll try to, put them together and summarize it. Because again, a lot of this will be part of an input on our survey and part of this work on this committee. But, what we'll have you talk to each one that you did. And, you don't have to put a PowerPoint together. You can just talk verbally, but it'll be a key topic at our next meeting. So again, I can't thank you enough for jumping in, and because I really am uncomfortable assigning workload when it's all volunteer. Finalize input. Here's my typos. I told the students I don't worry about typos, but finalize input on SWAT from the, so hopefully in the next week or two, we'll finalize that. As Colette had mentioned, we'll engage the executive committee in getting their input, which I think is critical. That'll be a good awareness builder for me for all the different committees and all they do. We'll finalize this benchmarking over the next, couple weeks, and we'll start to plan for the surveys. And I'm going to take that on as I'm going to start to build out a survey. Anything else that we should be doing, or anything else I missed for April and May, or May especially?
No, but real quick, Bernie, I just got a call from John Viola, and he said go ahead and send out a reminder to everybody. So if you could send me that example from Ron.
Okay.
I'll get that out to our staff. And he said if we haven't heard in a week, then he'll step into and lend a hand.
Right.
Yeah, here we are, a volunteer committee telling the staff in the middle of the audit. It's like, it doesn't
I think I'm going to tell people too with the example that, this ideally should be 15 minutes, right? Does that sound?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it could be bullet points. He wrote out, sentences, but it was a best in class example. In fact, I think when I send it over to you, I might share it with the committee because he did a really nice job.
Great.
And Bernie, don't be worried about giving out assignments. This is a high priority for John as well as the board.
It's in his
What you guys are, but and I appreciate the leadership that you and Bernie are giving to this. You guys have made tremendous progress in a short period of time.
Yeah. I hope you realize that, we're not just doing this for the sake of doing it. I think we're going to uncover some things looking outside of Ocean Pines and what the opportunities are versus worrying about, the pickleball courts or something. I mean, I will tell you that, I think we have world-class. I mean, they had five tennis courts up there or something like that. It was minimal for the size of that community, and it is. I mean, the size of our racket facility and other tennis courts is huge compared to some communities. So it is definitely a strength of ours. So we're up in this stage of assessment and doing this SWOT, and we're still stuck up in this thing circling around, but we're starting to make progress. We get this benchmarking done, we start to develop that survey. Believe me, once the survey's fielded, especially electronically, and I'll have to show you some data that electronic is equal to a hard copy, but we'll start to really come together. So I just want to remind us that something we did last time. Other topics, again, I didn't think we'd go the full time, especially since you guys volunteered on that workload so quickly. But any other wrap up topics? I already did the poll on level of confidence. So I'm glad you guys are. I guess when I did that, if you think about it, there isn't one that's currently in place. So, and it's been tried before. And I'm sure there was one 10, 15 years ago, but, in recent history, one doesn't exist. So we're breaking ground here and doing something that maybe has been tried before, but hasn't been successful. So I think we have the right team to pull that off. I think the next meeting, I know Mo is almost pushing for an in-person meeting. Let's do one more Zoom meeting next time. And I think we have it set for the 27th, which is right before Memorial Day at 9 a.m., unless anybody has any major issues with that. Maybe we'll get into an in-person meeting soon. But I'm okay with Zoom meetings if all of you are okay. And again, next time we'll do a poll, maybe a Zoom poll, Jenny. We'll do a Zoom poll.
Bernie, we are developing the ability to have hybrid meetings.
Okay.
We have new technology in the boardroom, and I'm not sure how available the boardroom would be, but if we need to do hybrid meetings, the technology is there. And I believe it doesn't matter if you use the Zoom platform or Teams. I think the platform is irrelevant. It's the equipment that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
So
it
so
is.
keep
It
that
is
in
going to
mind.
be optimized for Teams, but I
Okay.
believe you can use it for everything. And they're going to start to install that at the end of this month.
Yeah, and we don't have that in the acetate room, right, Josh?
Correct.
That's
Correct.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
because that room is so multifunction and accommodates so
Yeah.
many different groups and things like that.
Okay.
That's a good point because, Jenny, I was going to say that, my questions on the poll would be live, Zoom, but now I'll add hybrid. Hybrid is like the best of both worlds. So, those that prefer Zoom or aren't in the area can attend, and those that want to do it in person can attend. So, but we will do that next time.
Yeah, and we can't, just to make clear that we can't make assumptions about the board meeting because the board has priority for use of that room.
Yes. Okay.
So, okay.
I didn't really have anything else. We can spend some time talking about the Berlin municipality strategic plan if anybody has any comments on that, but I didn't really have much else to talk about. I'll start off. I mean, if you want to spend a few minutes, I thought, again, the Berlin plan as a municipality, I thought it was pretty simple, straightforward, clearly laid out some, I'll call, important but generic goals. I think it did have values or some type of value statements of the community, which was kind of interesting. And it did have clear kind of measurable activities. So it was a pretty good, simple example of what a written, I'm used to developing it on a PowerPoint, but a pretty good example of a written strategic plan for a small community. And thanks for sharing that, Helen.
Oh, yeah. I just thought, like you said, it was very clear. And I just really appreciated the first page that was written by the mayor explaining to the community, what we're doing, why we're doing, and how we need your input. And also that future goals, I'm just looking at it again because I hadn't looked at it for a while, but it says future additional goals were recommended during the community input process. So here again, you're really engaging the community and knowing that we're adding some goals that you helped us identify.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a kind of neat document.
Any other comments? I mean, we don't have to drag it on. I just thought, if you haven't looked at it, I thought it was a pretty good example of something that we might come up with from a written standpoint.
Mhm.
Point.
Well laid out, and good structure.
Yeah, and I thought after reading it, it was a pretty good assessment or a pretty good, what's the word I'm looking for? Representation of their, of the town. I thought it was,
Yes.
I thought it was good also.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not to drag it out. So so how are we going to get, so we're going to do community surveys. We're going to make sure that the people that are represented, that we have statistically significant representation from full-time residents, part-time residents, and all that. Ideally, get a representation with families with kids as well as older adults. But one of my concerns is, how do we get community buy-in from this? And I think it's a challenge that the board has, or the community has in general, getting the community to buy in what they're trying to do. I just thought in the last couple of minutes we might talk about that. It's definitely not like, I come from a background where this is a strategic plan that we developed for Hershey. This is what we're going to do. You can speak up and we'll listen to you, but this is what we developed based on a lot of work and a lot of facts that have been done. So how's that going to work with getting community buy-in? And I'll ask Colette just to start out, since she's probably been exposed to these issues in the past.
Yeah, we get a lot of, it's not a wide range of people, but we get a lot of opinions sent to us about what is wanted and not wanted. So there are people who are engaged. But, the other thing that we might consider is a town hall meeting, whether that would be a format to elicit, kind of generate some energy, elicit some input and discussion on this. I don't know. But I think you're right about the board needing to set the tone and convey to the community, the importance of this and the interest we have in, getting input from all stakeholders. So I think we're going to need to think about all different ways we might be able to do that. And, I would certainly, welcome Josh's opinions on this, because that's his field, the communications end of it.
Yeah, I like the town hall idea. If we did something like that, we could record it, we could post it, we could talk about it, we could put out press releases, we can make people familiar with the whole thing. I think the more people are familiar with the committee and what you're working on, the more comfortable they're going to be participating. So if we did something like a town hall, we could get a bunch of people in the room, or virtually, or both, and then have that as something that people can look at later as well. So that could be a useful tool.
Yeah, and Josh, given that the desire is that this is going to be an ongoing living document, so to speak, I wonder if it would make sense to have a segment in the Ocean Pines Academy about this.
Mm.
I don't know exactly how
Use the
that would be
town hall.
structured. Excuse me?
You could use the town hall as the segment.
Yeah.
We
And I
actually
think-
had a segment on strategic planning that Colby did, and we took that out. But we could have the town hall, we could have the committee chairs, we could have
Well, and
something
we could
like
have
that.
this committee, committee, talk about strategic planning. I have to say, I've learned so much just being the liaison to this committee. I knew nothing about this, and now I
It's a
feel
good
like,
group.
I've just learned so much. And I think you guys really have a lot of great insights and knowledge, that it could be a nice segment to get people thinking about, the role of the membership in the development of Ocean Pines, the ongoing evolution of Ocean Pines.
Yeah.
I think makes sense to be part
You
of
know,
that Ocean Pines Academy.
I think
It might also make sense to have some sort of recording done if you do an executive council meeting with the committee chairs doing the SWOT, that would be, you would have an interesting cross-section of the members there, and you would also have some, it might just be interesting.
Yeah.
So
I don't
Jen,
know.
Yeah, I
just
think
thinking
if
out
we
loud.
if we prep the chairs properly, you know, they know what's expected, they come prepared.
Yeah.
I think it could be a really good video, you know, meeting
Mhm.
to record and
Mhm.
possibly use for posterity or for this Ocean Pines Academy or some, you know,
Jenny
purpose.
Jenny made a comment early on in the meeting about value prop. And I
Yeah.
think that's, you know, the more we can communicate, town hall's a great idea, put something up on the camera, the more we can communicate to the community that what we're doing is going to
That's,
have value to their life, their livelihood here in Ocean Pines, the future of this community. I think the more we'll get buy-in to what we're doing.
There's one thing that has been happening at the annual meeting for the last several years that I think is extremely valuable that not a lot of people see, which is the breakdown of the use of the dues dollars. This much of your dues goes to police. This much of your dues goes to fire. This much of your dues goes to, you know, I think that is almost like a starting point if you want to use put value proposition, you know, at the forefront and something like that. And we did this with the realtor organization because there was a period of time. Well, everybody knows when the market tanked, and you know, realtors were screeching about paying dues. But what it boiled down to is what does the association do for you? There's advocacy. There's, you know, there's all these various levels of value that needed to be pushed, you know, and some of it was before Facebook, but I mean, social media, in my humble opinion, is where you're going to get the most engagement for this and from this, where you do your surveys, short 2-3 question surveys that people who are glancing through Facebook are actually going to stop for a minute because they only have to answer a couple of questions. And I think that's the way that you're going to get the other demographic that we never reached in that large, lengthy paper survey. You know what I mean? I know some people did fill that out online, but I think the majority of what was received because people filled it out on the paper.
I think that a lot of the people in the community, you know, get their information about what's going on from the various publications like the Bayside Gazette. So the more that we can get information in those venues, you know, the better we are. You know, we got that weekly newsletter that comes out, which is very good. I think a lot of people subscribe to that. But I know that a lot of people in Ocean Pines aren't regularly on their computers and doing all those kinds of things because that's not their background or their lifestyle as much as it is, you know, the folks on this committee. And so things in the Bayside Gazette or the other publication that cover our area, I think can be very helpful in getting the word out to the community and also helping to get community support, assuming you can get positive, you know, articles.
That's a good point. And anytime we do a press release, we send it to every paper, every TV station. We put it on the website, we put it on Facebook, we put it in the e-blast. So a good way to get a unified thing out there is if you want us to put something together, then it goes out from us everywhere. And generally they don't touch it up much, if at all.
Now, Josh, on the other hand, you know, when we talked, would you say that your email goes out to how many people and how many opens do you get?
8,000, and we're at about a 35 to 40% open rate, which is pretty good.
So you got 2,500 to 3,000 that do open
each week.
I don't know how many would do the survey if we included it there, but still, I mean, you're getting, but Wes, point well taken. My overall, so here's my thought. So Jenny, and or Josh, you know, Josh heads up communications. Jenny, you were on the communication committee. You guys seem to do a pretty good job engaging the community in some of your things that you were doing. Any other input or thoughts of what we should be doing?
I'm going to jump
love-
in. I
yeah.
wonder if reaching out to the chairs of the social clubs, because the social clubs are populated by people who are actually getting together on a regular basis and doing things socially and volunteering. And in a way that the advisory committee chairs don't have that reach. So just a thought.
And I put that link in the chat to our website with all the social clubs. So if you want it, it's right there.
Okay. So unfortunately, I don't know if you remember earlier, I talked about engaging, the community or engaging all the stakeholders isn't necessarily a strength of mine. I'm not sure what the processes are or even how to reach people like the social clubs. So it's very helpful. And I think, unfortunately, I do think it's a town hall discussion. And as long as Jenny presents it, I'm good with that.
Yeah, the
Okay
board
with
is talking, the board is currently talking about town hall topics. So I will bring this topic to the weekly meeting this coming Monday with John and Larry. And we will see.
Yeah, we don't want to get ahead of us. We have a lot of work to do before we get there.
Yeah. But I think it should be in the queue of
it's okay to
topics.
bring it up. And
Yeah.
I think absolutely we have to have it as a topic of the town hall, but wouldn't it be great to be able to share quantitative results of the survey that drove the development of the strategic plan? So that's where it's like, hey, you guys completed, here's what the results were.
Yeah.
And this, based on this, here's what we think our recommended plan is. What input do you have on this? And you might have some naysayers, you might have this and that, but it's going to be hopefully quantitative data. So really good discussion. I didn't really plan for us to go there, but it addresses one of my weaknesses. And Josh, what I'd like to do with you, and whether you lead it, put some bullet points down, like from now to September, some activities that we can do to increase awareness of what we're doing.
Okay. You got it.
You just might, again, it's a couple bullet points like, hey, let's have another article in Bayside Gazette. Let's, when we field the surveys here, here's how we might do it and things like that. So,
One thing we can do is just, you recorded this meeting, we posted on the website, and then we let the local press know that this is here, and they can catch up this way and see what we're doing.
okay. Are you
Hi,
okay?
local papers.
Yeah. That sounds good. Colette, you good with that?
Yep.
Okay. I'll make sure I send you the link then, Josh.
Great. I've got to run to that wall that he
Yeah,
was
I think
saying,
we're all
but,
good.
Yes, I do too.
We're all set. Good meeting again. Thank you all for jumping in and volunteering. May 14th is a deadline. It looks like Jenny will have hers done this week, but and I'm not sure what happened to Mo. I'm sure something happened technically. So
Yeah, he sent an email, but he lost all audio, so he had
Okay.
to drop out.
I was trying to get that in a few minutes ago. I noticed, but yeah, he just obviously.
Yeah. Have a great week, everybody. Let me know if you have any questions. Jenny, send over those minutes when you get them, okay?
I will
Hey.
do that. It's not going to be, well, I'll try, but it probably won't be today. It'll probably be Saturday.
No. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
bye.